everybody, to the IBJ Podcast. We're back at it today with my two co-hosts, Kalia and Morgan. And as always, before we get into it, we'll get into the mission statement. The purpose of the Institute of Black Justice is to relentlessly pursue equity and justice for all. The IBJ mission is threefold: to be an advocate for fairness and equity, to be an accelerator of the justice system, uh, to the justice system's transformation, and to be an accomplice to the credible social justice influencers and communities they serve. Um, and the topic today will be introduced by none other than our Morgan.
Thank you, Isaiah. Thank you. Thank you. I am so excited today. Normally, you guys are listening in and hearing topics from our special guests from around the community. But today, we are going to introduce none other than the host and the co-host, Isaiah Leonard and Kalia Collins. And the podcast topic tonight is we're going to dive in and kind of talk about the A.C.E.S program, the IBJ A.C.E.S program. And just to give reference, the A.C.E.S program is IBJ's Young Adult Leadership Program, open to ages 18 to 35. The A.C.E.S program educates young adults interested in social justice advocacy and provides hands-on leadership training with like-minded change makers. The launch is coming, y'all. If you guys have not already seen, April 7th at Intentions Juice Bar in Tacoma, Washington is going down.
At 3 p.m.
Finally, we are here, and we are so excited to really just step out into the community and share the greatness that our founder Carol Mitchell has cultivated, and really, apply our practices now to the community. And I just wanted to say hello, A.C.E.S Interns and Black Robe Podcast co-hosts and hosts. Thank you for really joining us today and choosing to be the topic of discussion. Sometimes it's always easy to share questions, ask questions, but when we're on the spotlight or when we're that special guest, sometimes it's a little nerve-wracking. So I really appreciate it. And I know from Carol to the team that we are so thrilled to have you both phenomenal young adults with us.
Thank you.
And so let's dive right in. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What school do you go to and what degree program are you in?
I can start. My name is Kalia Collins. I go to TCC and I am taking the human services route, and I'm getting my associates in applied science.
Thank you, Kalia. My name is Isaiah. Thank you for the amazing introduction again, Morgan. Currently, I'm going to Pacific Lutheran University. I'm getting 2 degrees, one in sociology and then another one in gender, sexuality, and race studies, with a minor in nonprofit leadership and management.
I know we live in a society right now where, our cultural standard really is trying to do multiple things that we can to get quick money, right? Because we're striving to succeed and to survive. And so some of the questions that we're going to ask tonight is, how do you provide school and work-life balance, I'm sure there's many young adults that want to know that, but I know that they really want to know, to hear from you that are passionate about social justice advocacy. How do you do it? So one question I have for you is, how can college students engage in meaningful discussions and activism around social justice, diversity, and inclusion? And another part of that is, what are some ways they can foster a sense of community and belonging on campus?
Fine, I got you. I think there's 3 aspects to this question: engagement, balance of work and life, like work-life balance, when it comes to school and work, and then you're also asking particularly about fostering like community on campus. So, I think to tackle one part of it, the first thing that I think of is community on campus. So, like for me, for instance, it's difficult depending on the institution you go to, right? Especially being Black students on campus. If you go to a predominantly white institution, especially these 4 institutions like Pacific Lutheran University, it's extremely hard because, first of all, there's relatively no people that look like you there. And even from the people that look like you there, all skin folk and kinfolk type situation. Like they come from different backgrounds. And so there's still cultural differences with people who look like you. I feel like, honestly, you just got to navigate that how you would any other space. Find people you truly resonate with who are culturally competent. And that you feel like if someone was to look at them and know they're in association with you, and they would be like, okay, that's a good reflection of yourself. You know what I'm saying? So I would say it just starts there too. I would say I feel like for me on my college experience, like trying to be on campus, there became a point where I had to make a choice whether to compromise who I was to try to be friends with people that it really didn't work with me, or to really stand true to myself and be okay with having a smaller friend group. You know what I'm saying? I would much rather have 2 or 3 really strong friends than 30 friends that like ain't really there, especially when you're on campus. You need really strong community, like people you really actually mess with. Otherwise, it's gonna feel like you're at work every time you're in a friend group because you don't actually mess with those people. And that all ties back into social justice and advocacy too. Are you being your real self in every space that you are in? Yes, we have to pivot and code switch slightly, but the authenticity of who you are should not change depending on the space or place you are at. So that's kind of what I've learned within my experience. In terms of college. Now, in terms of a balance between work and life and how I do it, um, there is no such thing as a perfect balance. You kind of got to keep figuring it out as you go. And I feel like I used to try to believe that there was a thing as like perfect balance, but I don't think you'll ever be at a point in your life where everything is perfect. So it's really just being aware, um, balancing things when you can, and again, just moving with integrity, sincerity, and being who you are in every space that you are, and being very honest too, like setting boundaries. It doesn't matter where you're at. Like even with like working with IBJ, I gotta be transparent with Morgan, and she transparent with me, and then things work out. So really, just be transparent about your boundaries and what you can and can't take, but also realize that's a privilege depending on other people's financial situations. So that's what I would say.
I'm not too sure actually when it comes to my school. I'm not too sure about any of the programs or any of the communities that they might have to kind of help you, I guess, feel more comfortable being a person of color at TCC. This is my first quarter. Well, I had my first quarter, but I kind of just stayed in my own little bubble and was like, let me make sure I get to class because it was a lot getting back into the school environment. But as far as balancing my work and home life, that's also a struggle. I'm speaking from a person that's a mom. I don't know about everybody else. So it's like I literally have to organize. I have to put stuff on calendars. I'm like, Lord Jesus, I just wasn't doing it before. Before I was like, I can wing that. I think I literally have time here. I have time there. But no, now it's like I gotta have stuff on a calendar. And if I don't put something down on the calendar right then and there, it's like I'm sorry, I missed it. So it's like, yeah, for me it's putting stuff on calendars that really help me balance different things, even when it comes down to doing like certain things for dinner. So yeah. I'll say putting things on calendars and just trying to organize your life. Do that. Or Jesus, do
Yeah,
that.
no, for real. I can
Mhm.
contest to that.
Yes,
1,000%.
absolutely.
And I'm like so in tune with scheduling management now. Like executive directors will be like, how do you do it? I'm like, well, first, I was a single mom. You know, I had to do it on my own. There was no way that I could show up appropriately and be ready to serve in the capacity that I was living in. And so there was no other choice. And so, Kalia, this question is for you. Um, what are some ways to foster a sense of community and belonging on campus, particularly from students from underrepresented backgrounds? Now, I know you said it's just your first quarter, so you don't necessarily know how they do it, but how would you create some ways to foster a
Mm,
sense of community to individuals on campus?
mm. I would just probably say saying hi to people, like really being like just being a friendly person. Like if you know that's who you are and you're comfortable doing that, I would say just say hi to people and just make the space in the classroom, even just in your classroom, more comfortable for everybody. Because some people are really quiet. That's my baby, by the way. He's coming. But yeah, I would say just be friendly, be more open to people and try to bring everybody together if you're able to do that to that kind of person.
I have to ask the both of you. How can students navigate conversations and disagreements with peers who hold different beliefs or perspectives?
Okay, when I think of students, I'm coming from like I even think about high school, but I'm also coming from like a college perspective right now. And in college, you're bound to be around people who don't agree with like what you feel or believe or have a culture shock of like just new ways of thinking. Like that's the whole purpose of coming together in a college campus in a college setting. And I feel like for instance, for me, when I first came to college, one thing I had to start getting used to and really understand and wrap my mind around, not necessarily that they disagreed with it, but was pronouns. Like I grew up and I went to Lincoln High School. It's not necessarily a thing like within the Black community as much in this current day and age. And that's starting to change. But once I came to school, I remember that was a new thing I had to start figuring out. Not necessarily that that's something I disagree with, but it was a new learning experience. I feel like that's the same way you should approach when people have different concerning views. Use it as a learning experience. Like genuinely listen to what they're saying at times, as long as it's not absurd. And just use it as a means of like understanding how you feel more about what you feel about. So like another way to think about it is like political views. Um, like if you are somebody who is more left, it can benefit you by listening to somebody who is more right at times. It doesn't mean you have to take in their ideology, but it does make you, it's kind of like you're peer reviewing the way you think in a way too. It makes you think deeper about it from a perspective that usually you wouldn't come from. So whatever the disagreement may be, whatever it may be, whatever the new information is, just be open, be curious, be honest, and just allow that to be a space of learning. And you don't necessarily have to compromise how you feel.
I like that. I like that idea. I would have to second that for sure.
I touched on it earlier a little bit about the work-life balance. But what are some strategies for maintaining physical health and mental well-being in college?
Look at Isaiah's eye roll. If you guys can't see, if you're just listening, Isaiah had the biggest like, hold on. Lord Jesus, I agree.
I got you. It's because it's crazy. I feel like there's so many aspects beyond just school. You know what I'm saying? You're not just a student, like Kalia mentioned. She's a mother as well, and she got probably a job, and you know what I'm saying. Like people got relationships. Like for me, I'm a brother. I'm a son. I'm a grandson. I'm a healthcare like provider. Like when it comes to taking care of like family members with disabilities, I have a job,
Mm,
and I have people who are looking up to me and who need me like sometimes. So I got to balance all that. Plus,
mm,
school, people forget that school is a full-time job. Like when you combine the hours of like that you got to do work and that you got to schedule everything out, like that's a 40-hour plus a week job at half the time, especially with college. So it's so trying to get physical health in when literally college is supposed to be a sedentary thing is super, super hard. But I think it's doable. I just think like what Khalid and Morgan were mentioning, like you really need to plan it out on your GCal if you can. Google Calendar is what GCal means. And just see if you can fit it in. But honestly, I think it really starts for me with not shaming myself. I'm the type of person where if I put out a plan and I don't get it, I think internally I start to shame myself for not getting to
mhm.
that destination. And then guess what? The next time I try to do it, I'm already going to be down on myself. So it's kind of like a downward spiral. I think whenever I can't make something, I just have to have grace with myself and really
Yeah.
have a positive energy so I can get it the next time. I think that's the productive thing I could give somebody else out there. Like you can't be shaming yourself. You're trying your best. And in the midst of trying your best, let's be positive for the next time you can do it.
Hmm. Yep. I agree with that. Just keep on, literally just keep on trying again, trying again. If you don't, if you don't complete it that day, just keep trying. Because it's not gonna be 100% every day, for sure.
And I would also say too, like to that, it's okay to take a break.
Mm,
It's take an off year. It's okay to take an off quarter. It's okay to know when you're feeling emotionally drained, physically drained,
mm,
and you can't in the way that you would rather when you have your bearings together. So I think knowing that school is really only going to go as fast as you can succeed, and if you have to take a break, it's going to wait for you. So sometimes recognizing that it's okay to say right now I'm not mentally okay, or right now I'm not physically okay to do this work, then I think being honest with yourself and true with yourself, like Isaiah is saying, is extremely important.
mm.
Extremely.
I
And this
think you
was
just
another
took a
question.
lot of stress off of a lot of people. Because
Mm.
just you saying
Yeah.
that, it's okay to take off a quarter. Somebody's like, hold on, wait, off a quarter, wait. I'm a B, hold on. So
Hmm.
yeah, you're speaking facts. Hmm.
I've had to do it. I had to
Come
say,
on.
Morgan, too many things going right now.
Yes,
You can't
ma'am.
work a class load right now. It's
Hmm.
just not doable. I just have to take one class in the summer, and
Hmm.
that's okay. Just
Right.
owning that, because only people will only respect what you stand for.
Mm.
So
Right.
Mm.
All right.
Hmm.
All right. We gonna talk about it or be about it type situation.
Go on.
talk about
Yes, that's facts.
Can I add something on real quick? Like to what we're saying right now, it's also like how are we gonna it's like what we're saying, how are we gonna preach about activism and like trying to like refuel our bodies and not do it for ourselves? Like if there's one thing I've seen from the start, like growing like low income and poor at times and having housing instability, I've just seen people run themselves into the ground in the midst of that process, which they want like their next generation like me to go to college and not have to do that. And I think a part of that is like in the midst of trying to, get a whatever higher paying job or whatever, like what's the use of me getting a higher paying job, a bigger lifestyle, and like something that's supposed to stop me from doing what my parents did and then literally doing the exact same thing my parents did and running myself into the ground. So I think that is the more type of balance we've been talking about this whole time. It's important. Like there's no shame in it. Like I'm in another year of college right now. I'm in my fifth year. I took an extra year of college, and it's the best decision I could have did because I can't imagine
Mm.
what would have been like for me to graduate last year. I ain't gonna let everybody else know what I've been through, but we some stuff happened with the family, and I was not in the emotional place to do anything, like naturally so. And so if I'm happy and everybody else should be happy, like to take a quarter off, take a year off, come back. Like life is so much, I feel like, especially for college students, there's a stigma between like having a time frame when you got to get out of college. Like you got to go straight from high school, get
Mhm.
out at 22, and it's done. Like there's people at all ages at college or who take any type of breaks. You know what I'm saying? Life happens. So, and you know what I'm saying? Like hopefully everybody can live to be like 70, 80 years old. So why are we stressing about like a month or a week or even a year sometimes? I would much rather do that than like set myself up for failure long term. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I love what y'all are saying for sure.
We live in a society where if we don't really have that 5-year plan, or we're not in this microwave, system of we need it right now, then it's really not going to be ideal or happen for us, right? And so I think people actually like pausing and just being in the present is like so important, and recognizing what the present looks like for them and just
Mhm.
standing still. And especially in America, I remember I heard that we're in a microwave society. Everybody wants it right now. I was
I
like, oh,
heard that
that's good.
before too. Mhm.
That's so true. They want it right now, but they're not willing to put in the work for it.
Mhm.
Or they want it in 5 years and they're gonna kill themselves by getting there. And
Mhm.
so if you can't just sit in the present and enjoy what's in front of you and around you, I mean, what are you doing it for? And
Mm.
so we speak real here. you know we want to pose questions to you guys that you have a chance after you're done listening to this podcast to think about and reflect on your own life. These may just be our story. I know there's many other individuals, young or elderly, that have experienced or are experiencing these same things. And so this is another question that I wanted to know. um, what role do, and this is pertaining to mental health, and I think this is one of my last questions, but what role do extracurricular activities, hobbies, or internships or passion projects play in shaping your personal and professional development?
Oh, me, please. I would definitely say I have the answer for that one. Um, right now, on the side, I do hair, so that's something that it kind of was like a journey. Like when I first started doing hair, it was just for myself. You know what I mean? So it wasn't no stress or nothing on it. The thing that made it like stressful was when I started actually taking on clients and stuff and trying to turn it into a business. But recently, I turned it back into a hobby for myself and started doing it for free. And it just, I don't know, it's different than trying to turn it into a business, like really taking that back as a hobby of what I had in my younger years. It just made me, I don't know, it just brings you back to a certain sense of peace. Like it's not like going to work. It's not like having to do school to higher your education. It's just something that you know how to do, something that used to bring you joy and it still brings me joy. So just having that hobby for myself, it just, I don't know, it gives me, like I said, peace. So I would definitely say have a hobby, do your hobby, and do it for free if do have
Yeah.
fun with it. Yeah,
And that's
that's
crazy
cool.
that you said that, going back to something that ended up wanting to be a business for you.
Mhm.
Was that stress relief or that place of peace for you? Tried to turn it into a business, got too stressful, and now you're bringing it back. I
Mhm.
think people are constantly starting or trying to start these businesses that are actually hobbies and then letting
Mhm.
them die, and
Mhm.
then they're not even using the strength that they gave gained from even starting that project. And so you sharing that just made me think, oh, I have a hobby that I would love to go back to.
What do
I'm
you
teaching,
do?
so graphic design. That's one of the hobbies that I started when I was going through a bad part of my life. And so I did not turn it into a business, but people found interest in it while I was continuously doing it, chose to give me funds for it. And so I do, yep, and they will do that. You know, if you're just walking in that purpose, you know, the funds will come to you, but you have to have that right heart posture to be able to even gravitate towards you. You know?
I heard that.
Isaiah, we love you.
100%. I'm just taking it in. Both of y'all are saying amazing things right now. Like, I feel like what Kalia just said was profound. Like, the what is worth more, the money or the peace and the love of what you do? And I feel like the peace and the love that comes with it is much more, like, it's worth more than the money at the end of the day. And I feel what you're saying too, because so many people, when we start to monetize the things we love, like, it's kind of like the reason we're doing it no longer is out of the love, it's out of necessity, and it's out of survival. And at times it can work out, but it's really hard for it to work out, to be honest, unless your money's completely right and you have a ton of money coming in off rip. Like, the second you gotta do like 4 heads in a day just to make rent or something like that, that's when it kills it. Like, that's the same thing for me with what I do or what I see my friends do. My girlfriend, she does hair too, and she's the same type of person, be like, look, I'll do it for free. Like, I love to braid hair, period. You know what I'm saying? And even I be the person low key on the other side, be like, nah, you gotta, you know what I'm saying? Like, if his family is different with him, but then I have to think about it and be like, you know what? Nah, like, what's more important is enjoying this thing right here. To answer the question for myself, sorry, I just had to talk about what Clea said because she hit it. But to answer the question for myself, I don't even like, when it comes to extracurricular things, hobbies. I also found the same thing. Whenever I try to make it about professional development or money, I started to hate it. So I try to even disconnect that portion. So in terms of extracurricular activities or hobbies that like bring me joy, like basketball is always going to be one. Like, I'm still playing in Tacoma, going to tournaments and stuff like that. And I think basketball is my version of like when you're in a moment and your mind just goes away and you're there. So that's one of my versions. I used to play the viola in high school and middle school, and I want to get back into that because that was a lot of fun too. And that's always a fun thing to throw out there because nobody expects the 6'5" basketball player to be going crazy. So yeah, 100%. Yeah, present peace. What Morgan just said, like, things that bring you back to the present, like that's peace. I feel like that's where I get to find a balance in my life too. We got to be in the present. They say like what peace is the present. You'll find like anxiety in the future and like regret in the past. So we don't live anywhere else but here. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna look at that because
Ooh,
that was a quote right.
there we go.
I think so needed for us to have a chance to not only bond together, you know, but also to have our listeners and people that are interested in IBJ understand the type of hearts of service that each one of us possess. And so I am just so honored. Like I always say to you guys, every time I see you, I'm always so excited to be able to be in the room with you guys. And, you know, I feel that there's so much more in store, not just for you guys, but for us to exude light and energy into the city and to any other individuals or participants that come across our path. And so with that, in closing, I just want to say thank you to the Black Robe Podcast listeners. I want to say thank you to all the community members that are interested in coming out to the program or the event launch on April the 7th at 3 o'clock at Intentions Juice Bar. And we will be diving in more in the weeks to follow to talk about the A.C.E.S program and give you guys more information on how to register and sign up. But for now, it will be on the website. You can go to our Facebook pages and find information on how to sign up. But for now, that is all. Happy Thursday, and we will see you guys then. Thank you.
Peace, you guys.
See y'all soon.